Audio check 1 2 3, checking the mic. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Motive here for round 5 of the GT3 Sprint League here on a Wednesday night on the PlayStation 5. For Season 4, we are at Brands Hatch tonight for this 4th round of the season. We've currently got 13 drivers on the grid. A bit of a depleted field, unfortunately, tonight. A few people couldn't make it, and ultimately, it's a bit unfortunate, really, that so many people couldn't make it on one night. But nonetheless, we have got a fair few drivers here this evening out on track, so we should get some good racing, and fingers crossed we get some exciting action as well here. But we're just getting ready to go for the formation lap. We just had the qualifying session where we got G-Sanks on pole position. The big news actually of that qualifying session just gone is that Tynus in the house, the championship leader, the man who has won 7 out of the 8 races so far this season, because it's 2 races per round, let's not forget. 7 out of the 8 races that he's raced in this season so far in this league, he has won. But he's going to be starting down in P12. He's going to have a lot of work to do here in this race. The only time he hasn't won a race was in the first race at Alton Park, which was round 3 of the season, I think it was, race 5 of the season. He also had a malfunction in quali, which meant that he started down the pack, and it's a similar story here tonight for Tynus in the house. P12 on the grid, so he's going to have to really fight over the course of this first race of the night. He said that his wheel had a bit of an issue, which meant that he couldn't take the start, or couldn't actually do his quali lap, so a massively unfortunate situation there for Tynus in the house, which means that he's going to have to do this one from a very difficult position indeed here tonight. But yeah, it should be interesting to see how he can get on here, because it's going to be a very difficult evening indeed here for Tynus. But obviously, if anybody can do it, it's probably him, because we've seen him put on some unbelievable drives over the course of this season, not just on a Wednesday night, but also on a Sunday night, where he is actually unbeaten in the GT3 Championship Tier 1 on a Sunday, because on Sunday we get 2 tiers. We've got a lot more drivers on a Sunday than we do on a Wednesday. And yeah, he's currently leading both championships here on the PlayStation 5 platform, here on ACC Automotive Racing. Over the time that he's been racing here, he's often struggled to break out of the shadow of his friend and teammate Jazzman, who usually races alongside him. But obviously this season, Jazzman taking a season out due to the fact that he's visiting relatives, and that means that Tynus in the house has had a great opportunity this season to really step it up and show what he's made of. And so far this season, he's done exactly that. And can he continue his momentum this season with starting down in P12, having not got that lap in, as we said before, in qualifying tonight? But plenty of drivers here who can definitely spoiled Tynus's party. G-Sanks being one of them starting on pole will be looking to try and capitalise on this lofty grid position. Also Ludo as well, who's been able to keep Tynus on his toes actually on Sunday nights as well. So Ludo's one he's definitely got the pace to match Tynus in qualifying. Over the race, maybe a different story. Tynus has usually got the edge, but certainly in qualifying, Ludo is a match for Tynus. Kangi starting in third place. What can he do? He usually, or not usually, because that's a bit unfair to say, but often he gets involved in these early collisions or incidents. I think he struggles on cold tyres, does Kangi, and quite often we see he'll not get the greatest of starts to races, but then as the race goes on, he will start to get into it and usually finishes on the podium or near to the podium places. But can we see Kangi get over those sort of demons at the start and maybe get on to a good one here in this first race of the night? We're coming up towards the final corner. Once we get out of clearways, we'll be sort of on the starting grid, and then as we get up towards the line, we'll be officially green for the first race here at Brands Hatch tonight. This is round 5 tonight, race 9 of a 16 race season, as we're coming through the final part of the lap. And then once we get to the line, we'll be officially green, as we can see somebody's coming into the pit. So I assume there's been a drive-through penalty handed out already. I'm not quite sure what on earth that could be at this stage in the race, but nonetheless, here we come. It appears to be Capriga, or is it damage? Could be damage actually on Capriga's car. But here we are over the line. We are starting the race now, and looks like we're underway. Let's give ourselves some good camera angles here. So we've got G-Sanks here side by side with Ludo coming through Paddock Hill Bend. Ludo looking to the outside here, and he's managed to keep the momentum here as Ludo all the way around the outside. Can he get it done here on G-Sanks? G-Sanks keeps it up the inside, is just about keeping ahead of Ludo for the time being, and G-Sanks holds on to the lead as Ludo a bit wide there on the exit of Druids. You got Kangi, who's lost out here to Totally Zero, so Totally Zero's got his way up into third place. Kev Sim here is side by side now with Sharka Zulu. Sharka Zulu looking to the inside of Kev Sim as they're coming into turn 4, as looks as though Tynus has already made up a few places here, up into 10th place. So he's had a very strong start here as Tynus in the house, but it's currently G-Sanks from Ludo with Totally Zero in third place, getting ahead of Kangi. You've got Sharka Zulu there in fifth place, ahead of Kev Sim. Capriga still hasn't passed the sector point, so it's showing him as first place. Oh, and somebody's gone off there. That was a bit of contact there. Was that Kangi and Totally Zero? Totally Zero struggling to rejoin the track there. Did he manage to take somebody out though? He's onto the grass there, he's wide, and Totally Zero's had an absolute horror show of a first lap. He's way down the pack, probably in last place there after that one. So Totally Zero has not had the start that he would have wanted at all, but it's G-Sanks coming leading ahead of Ludo, followed by Kangi in third place, who's dropped off at the top 2 a little bit. But G-Sanks and Ludo currently locked horns here as they're coming to the final corner here on lap 1. Kangi there in third place ahead of Sharka Zulu, followed by Totally Zero, and there's an incident there. Lexi Mate's round coming out at the second to last corner, and Totally Zero involved in more incidents here by the looks of it, or maybe that was Lexi Mate making an independent mistake there of Totally Zero, I'm not sure. But Totally Zero obviously way down the pack after that incident there, coming through the middle sector. G-Sanks and Ludo currently separated by not much going into Druids here for the second time. There's Kangi ahead of Shark Zulu, followed by Kev Sim. You've got Max Power there running ahead of Fierce Mars, followed by Robe, who's up to 8th place here after starting at the back of the grid. And looks like Snoopy is just ahead of Tynus right now as they're coming into Druids. So Tynus did not make as good of a start as Robe. Robe started from 13th and is up into 8th. Tynus has gone from 12th to 10th. So Tynus made a good start. Robe has made an absolutely phenomenal start and looking to try and make the most of what's clearly quite a big gap between himself and Tynus. So Tynus must have had quite a tricky first lap. Something must have gone here with Tynus in the house, because I can't imagine that he would have only made up 2 places with all that carnage going on in front of him. I can't imagine he would have only made up 2 places if he had had a clear passage. So he must have been involved in some kind of incident. You can see there's a bit of damage there on the front of the car, but nonetheless he's going to make the move up the inside of Snoopy down the end of the back straight, and Tynus in the house gets himself up into 9th place. Snoopy there a bit wide onto the grass, tags the grass ever so slightly, but Tynus in the house nonetheless up into 9th place here in this race. But Robe absolutely flying all over the back of Fierce Mars here as they're coming through the penultimate corner here on lap 2. It's currently G-Sanks leading ahead of Ludo, but he's got just over a gap here, just over a second of a gap here over Ludo right now. You've got Kangi there running in 3rd place ahead of Sharka Zulu. Kev Sim is on the back of these guys as well. You've got Max Power there running ahead of this battle here between Fierce Mars and Robe. Robe all over Fierce Mars as he looks to the inside in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Is this going to be job done here for Robe? Fierce Mars trying to hold it around the outside as he just turns into the corner. Robe there, still there. Fierce Mars keeps it around the outside, keeps the momentum going into Druids. Robe still looking up the inside as Fierce Mars closes the door and gets to go turned around and holds on to 7th place by the skin of his teeth there. But Robe looking to try and get himself into a few more positions here, because he's obviously gone from 13th to 8th very early on here in this race. It's been an electric start from him, as we can see. Max Power is very close to the back of Kangi here, coming through turn 4, but no dice at the moment. Robe's making a move here on Fierce Mars. Can he get it done on the exit of the corner? It looks like he's got that one done. Yes, he has done so. Robe there up into 7th place, and can now focus his attention up the pack here as this battle for third. Oh, Sharky Zulu's lost it while he was running in third place. Got a huge bit of oversteer there. Got a bit of a snap, and he's going to lose out to all of these guys here. So Kevsim, Kangi, Max Power and Robe all up a position each. So is Fierce Mars. Tynus is coming up on the scene as well. Obviously Tynus has now gapped Snoopy by a little bit since getting ahead of him a couple of laps ago. But what a shame there for Sharky Zulu, who was running in third place. He was defending from Kevsim. Was there an incident between the two, or did he just lose it under the pressure there from Kevsim? Kevsim nonetheless has got Kangi and Max Power on the back of him here as they're going through the final corner. But what a shame there for Sharky Zulu, way down the pack here with that little mistake, as Capriga is in the pits here at the end of lap 3. So what has gone on there with him? Looks like he's going nowhere fast at the moment, as Ludo's gap to G-Sanks just under 2 seconds. You got Kevsim just ahead of Kangi, followed by Max Power at this point, as they're going through Druids here for the 4th time in this race. But Robe there now closing in on these guys, running in 6th place. He's managed to gap Fierce Mars by nearly a second here since getting ahead of him a lap or so ago. But this battle for the podium is really starting to heat up between Kevsim, Kangi and Max Power. Robe will be reeling them in at quite a rate here. Ludo though gapping G-Sanks at the front. The gap nearly 2 seconds between those two, and Ludo looking in more and more in control here in this race lead. But we're going to keep an eye on this battle for the final podium place, because Kevsim, Kangi and Max Power are all looking pretty close here, as Max Power goes a little bit wide. They're all going quite wide coming through that part of the track, to be fair, but they're keeping it pretty tidy at this point. Ludo is still leading by just under 2 seconds here ahead of G-Sanks. That gap's staying at around the same. And Capriga is still in the pits at the moment, so obviously with that damage which he's incurred early on in this first race of the night, it looks like he's really struggling. But Max Power now we're getting closer and closer to the back of Kangi, who made a bit of a mistake there going through the penultimate corner. Into the final corner we go. Max Power still not close enough to be able to make a move here on Kangi, as we're coming out onto the start finish straight once again. But Kevsim still weathering the storm here with Kangi and Max Power in hot pursuit. But Robe is definitely bringing a gap down to these guys, and if they continue to fight it out, it's only going to bring Robe closer and closer to the back of them here, as they're coming up towards Druids here for the 5th time in the race. As Kevsim defends the inside there. Max Power goes a little bit deep but gets it turned. Oh no, it was Kangi that went a little bit deep, sorry, should I say. Max Power though could not capitalise on that at all, and for the time being has to tuck in, as Kangi there a little bit wide. Max Power's going to surely look to the inside here coming into turn 4. No, he can't, because Kangi just breaks a little bit later than him, and holds onto that one. Robe though is appearing on the scene. He's looming larger in the rearview mirrors of the BMW of Max Power, and that McLaren is definitely going to be proving a bit of a distraction here for Max Power. The gap between Ludo and G-Sanks in the meantime has come down a little bit, so it's now just over a second. Although, yeah, that stayed the same. So no changes there between those two. You can see that Ludo obviously got ahead of G-Sanks on lap 2 of the race, and since then he's just kept the gap at just over a second. So G-Sanks keeping Ludo on his toes at this point. You got Kevsim and Kangi with Max Power and Robe now in hot pursuit here coming into the final corner. These 4 guys battling it out over 3rd place at this point as they're coming out onto the start finish straight. You can see that Kevsim and Kangi have just got Max Power ever so slightly there going through the final sector. As down towards Paddock Hill Bend we come once again for the 6th time in this race. Robe's now to the inside of Max Power into Paddock Hill. He's going to get it done. Oh, a bit of contact there between the two of them, and Max Power just seems to turn in a little bit there on Robe. Robe will not be too happy with that one, I'm sure, as they go into Druids there. You can see that Kevsim still just ahead of Kangi right now in that battle for 4th place, but Max Power and Robe there dropping off of those two a little bit with that little collision that we saw going through Paddock Hill Bend. Kevsim and Kangi there just under a second between those two. The gap between Ludo and G-Sanks still just over a second at this point. No real changes there. Tynus has got ahead of Fierce Mars, and Fierce Mars has made a mistake here coming through the first sector. Not sure what's happened to him, but he's now well off of Tynus, so he's dropped it somewhere. He's got Shaka Zulu, who's 4 seconds behind him currently on the road. Capriglia still in the pits, so he's not moved at all since getting his damage on lap 3 of the race. Really struggling tonight, not having the first race of the night at all is Capriglia, as Robe is all over the back of Max Power here, coming through in towards the final sector here. There's Kevsim currently running ahead of Kangi. You can see those two going through the final corner right now. There's Max Power and Robe in the background. You've got Tynus there running in 7th place. Ludo's gap to G-Sanks just over a second as they're going into Druid's Bend right now. And you can see they're totally zero, getting well out of the way, being lapped obviously. Unlike him to see him being lapped, but not having a great race here. Obviously got damage early on, which has cost him heaps of time in this race. And currently, well, a lap down. Pretty much, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. But Kangi's still on the back of Kevsim, half a second between Kevsim and Kangi still. You can see Max Power just ahead of Robe, still keeping him behind, still doing everything he needs to do to defend that position. Kevsim has actually managed to gap Kangi a little bit. That's nearly a second now between those two. Robe closer and closer to the back of Max Power here. Is he going to be able to get a bit of a run here down the back straight and potentially make a move here at the end of it? Looks like he's pulling out to the outside now. Max Power defends it a little bit, just parking his car on the middle of the track. No way really through for Robe realistically, and he just has to wait and watch and hope that he can force Max Power into a mistake, but Max Power currently giving him nothing to go on at this point. Ludo and G-Sanks still separated by just under a second right now as they're coming down towards the final corner here on lap 7 of the race. Kangi still trying to find a way through ahead of Kevsim, but no dice at this point as Max Power's made a mistake. Robe's made a mistake onto the grass as well, and that has allowed Tynus in the house to swoop through up into 5th place. So I don't know if they had a collision or what happened there between those two. We were just checking on the battle up front ahead of them, but those two have come together in some way, shape or form. Tynus in the house is now running in 5th place. We've got to keep an eye on what Tynus' gap is to the podium places, because he could potentially be in this fight for the podiums. He's currently only 5 seconds behind Kevsim and Kangi, and when you consider the fact that he was involved in some incidents on the first lap which kind of hindered his ability to close in on the front of the pack as quickly as he would have liked, he's done really well here. So Tynus in house now running in P5 ahead of Max Power. Robe has dropped off at the back of Max Power with whatever went on between those two going through the penultimate corner. As we were just flicking onto them, we could see they both have run wide onto the grass. Whether or not it was one of them going off in sympathy of the other, or if there was a collision between the two of them, we don't know. But ultimately the result of it is that Tynus in the house now running in 5th place ahead of both of them, and he's 4 seconds behind Kangi. Kangi is on the back of Kevsim, so this is a battle for the podium places. So technically Tynus is now only 4.5 seconds off of a podium place here. I mean, it's only lap 7 or lap 8 even of the race, so still relatively early stages. We're not even halfway through this first race of the night. What's Tynus to the leaders? He's 12 seconds behind the leaders. We'll probably have about, I'd say, about 13 or 14 laps left. So if he were to lap a second a lap quicker than the leaders, you know, it's not completely out of the question for Tynus in the house to win this first race of the night. But we've got to stay with these 3rd and 4th places. Also keeping an eye on Ludo and G-Sanks, because the two leaders are now separated by half a second here. So G-Sanks is bringing that gap down more and more here to Ludo as they're going into Druids here for the 9th time. You can see there Kevsim having to defend the inside from Kangi. Kangi might be able to get a bit of a cutback here coming up towards Druids, but Kevsim gets a good enough run there up the hill and will hold on into Druids for the time being. But Tynus in the house continuing to reel that gap down to these two. There's Max Power with Robe now reeling him back in again after we saw whatever happened between those two a lap or so ago. But plenty of battles here to cast our eyes on as we're coming down this little back straight. The two leaders, Ludo and G-Sanks, you can see them as Ludo now having to defend from G-Sanks. G-Sanks pulling out to the outside. Is he going to get all the way around him here? Ludo's currently covering that off really nicely at the moment and putting his car in the right places here. G-Sanks can't seem to find a way through, can't get a cut back either, and is just having to currently stare at the back of that Ferrari, which is doing everything it needs to do to hold on to this P1. But G-Sanks is doing everything he can to try and force him into a mistake here, as Kangi's still on the back of Kevsim. You can see these two battling out our 3rd and 4th places in the background. You can also see the Max Power is having to defend like crazy here from Robe, who's currently knocking on the door of this P6, but still can't seem to find a way through. He's just trying everything he can possibly is Robe, but we saw these two. It came to a bit of a head a couple of laps ago, and Robe will be conscious of that and will be hoping that he can do this cleanly this time and not get involved in any argy-bargies here with Max Power. Let's go back to the battle for third and fourth, because Kangi is still all over the back of Kev Sim as we come down towards Paddock Hill Bend, but Kev Sim's currently got that ascendancy here. It's just not really forming any gaps at the moment, as Robe's ahead of Max Power, so he's made that move into the final sector. Didn't see what happened there, but Robe now up into P6. He's currently 3 seconds behind Tynus, who's running in 5th place. Tynus, though, is closing in on Kev Sim and Kangi, who continue to battle it out over 3rd and 4th places. So Tynus definitely not out of this battle for the podium places at the moment. Ludo and G-Sank separated by 0.3 of a second as they're coming down the back straight. And this continues to be the battle for the lead right now, as Ludo knocks one of the cones there, flying. And G-Sanks with the straight line speed in the Lexus over the Ferrari, continuing to knock on the door of this 1st place position here. As Kangi throwing a little feint to the inside of Kev Sim there down the end of the back straight, but nothing doing. Katarina's now only a second and a half behind this battle for the podium places, as Kangi there very wide onto the grass, which would have cost him a little bit. Kev Sim, though, looks like he's making little mistakes as well, and this is allowing Tynus more and more to bring himself into striking distance here. As through into the final sector we go. These guys now over 10 seconds behind the lead battle between Lido and G-Sanks, as we're now coming down towards the final corner once again. As Robe's now gapped Max Power by 1.5 seconds since getting ahead of him, so Robe's showing he had the pace over Max Power. It's just a case of the fact that he couldn't find a way through. Brands Hatch is quite a difficult track to overtake, it must be said. And Robe's certainly finding that here tonight. So is Tynus, obviously starting in P12, but he's made for light work so far. He's looking to the inside of Kangi in towards Druids. Kangi goes a little bit deep there. Can Tynus pick him off on the exit of the corner as he slides it in there? Does Tynus really had to do a bit of a pirouette to get that car turned in and keep it to the inside, so he didn't run into the back of Kangi. In the end, Kangi manages to hold on for 4th place just about, but Tynus in house did really well there to avoid contact on the exit of Druids. He had to absolutely saw that wheel into the turn to avoid hitting the side of Kangi. Kangi for the time being still running in P4. These guys are now over 1 second behind Kev Sim, who's managed to gap them whilst they battle between each other, as Tynus getting a bit of run down in the back straight, but Kangi there will hold on into the corner for the time being, and Kangi's still running in 4th place just ahead of Tynus in the house, but this is close stuff between the two of them. Ludo and G-Sanks still battling over the lead, 0.3 of a second between them two coming to the penultimate corner. There's Kev Sim, who's currently 1 second ahead of this battle between Kangi and Tynus at this point. But great racing throughout the pack right now. We've seen plenty of action here tonight. Not the most I don't even know the word. Not the most expansive field. I don't know. God knows. My brain's not working. I'm really tired, and my brain's not working. But you know what I mean. It's not the most fullest grid we've seen, but for sure it's. I don't know what I'm talking about. Dinah's in the house, still in the back of Kangi though, as we're coming into Druids. As Kangi though looks like he's just far enough ahead there. They're coming up on Kev Sim, who's running in 3rd place. Obviously Kev Sim has been ahead of them for some time, but has managed to just keep the gap to Kangi reasonably solid. There is some traffic in the foreground which appears to be totally zero as they're coming through turn 4, so they'll have to negotiate him very shortly, you'd imagine. But there are 3rd, 4th and 5th places, with Robe now pulling up onto the back of them as well. This could really hurt Tynus, because being stuck behind Kev Sim and Kangi is going to bring Robe more and more into this fight, and could potentially give Tynus a bit of a headache, because we know that Robe has got some pace around here. We've seen that so far tonight in practice and qualifying and this race as well, starting from 13th place. Sharka Zulu appears to have retired from the race because he's currently sat in the pits. Capriglia out of the race early on. He was driver that we lost because we did start with 13. We currently got 12 in this race, but yeah, Capriglia hopefully will be joining us back for the 2nd race. But coming into Paddock Hill Bend here for the 13th time in this race, and Kangi getting closer to the back of Kev Sim here into Druids as Kev Sim defends the inside. Kangi's not got any gap to go for there, and Kev Sim for the time being keeping onto that one. Oh, Kangi, bit of a slide there. Is Tynus going to be able to capitalise? No, he's not going to be able to for the time being. Oh, it's Kev Sim though, ever so out of shape there, coming out of turn 3. Hits the barriers there as well. That's going to allow Kangi, Tinus and Robe all up in position each, and Kev Sim down to P6. And he'll have a bit of damage there on the front of the car as well, which will probably inhibit his ability to close in. As Kangi here having to defend, as he's got ahead of... what's going on? Tinus looking to the outside here of Robe. Robe looking up the inside of Tinus. Oh, can Robe get ahead of Tinus here? Tinus going a little bit wide. Robe might be able to capitalise on this and move ahead of Tinus. Tinus though with damage on the front of the car keeps it around the outside nonetheless. But Kangi keeping ahead of these guys, currently running in third place still at the moment. But that was a hairy moment there for Tinus because Robe almost got ahead of him there up into fourth place. But he keeps on to the position for the time being here. 9 of you currently watching the stream, guys, smash the like button if you're enjoying what you're watching at the moment. Ludo and G-Sank still separate by just under a second at the moment as they're going into Druids here for the 14th time in this race. There is the battle for third place still raging on here as they come through Paddock Hill Bend. Kestim there running in 6th place still in this one, has got a fair way back to Max Power running in 7th. Fierce Mars there still going in 8th place right now. Has got a bit of a gap back to Snoopy running in 9th. Lexi Mate there running in P10. Then you got Totally Zero who's running in 11th place. Sharkazulu currently residing in the pits. Kangi, Tinus, Robe, still as you were between these guys, 3rd, 4th and 5th places. Ludo still keeping ahead of G-Sanks. This is the battle for the lead. It's been as you were between these two. It's been as you see in front of you right now since the early laps when Ludo was able to get ahead of G-Sanks. About lap 3 it was, lap 2 or 3 when Ludo got the lead. This is a bit wide there though coming out of Paddock Hill Bend, but not really a big enough mistake there for G-Sanks to capitalise. Kangi, Tinus and Robe still battling over 3rd place as they're going through Paddock Hill Bend. G-Sank's getting closer here to the back of Ludo, but still not close enough just at the moment. Looking to the inside actually into turn 4. Ludo goes a little bit wide. G-Sanks, can he get a run? No, he can't. Ludo just keeping it around the outside for the time being. As Tinus looking around the outside of Kangi here of turn 3, and has Tinus got that one done? I think he has, and Roby might be able to get Kangi as well here, so Kangi might lose 2 places in the space of a couple of corners here. Roby down the inside of Kangi. Is that job done for Roby? I think it is. Roby moves himself through up into 4th place, and Kangi, unfortunately for him, losing 2 places in the space of a few hundred metres. Tinus though into the podium places from 12th on the grid with an absolute horror show of a first lap to go with it as well. What a drive it's been from Tinus, and he's going to keep up his record of 100% podium finishes this season. Absolutely superb job from him. Watching the battle between Ludo and G-Sanks, 0.3 of a second separating these two as they're coming over to complete lap 15. There's Tinus ahead of Robe right now with Kangi just behind them as well. It's Ludo and G-Sanks coming out of the final corner. They're about to complete lap 16 of the race. G-Sanks still trying to keep Ludo on his toes here. But Ludo's currently been holding firm to every sort of advance that G-Sanks has made. He's had a couple of moments where it's looked like Ludo might be about to surrender the lead, but to be fair, he's just been very resolute in how he's gone about defending the position. Tynus obviously running in third place, but Robe's not allowing Tynus off the hook here. You can see he's keeping onto the back of him. Both of these two got ahead of Kangi a couple of laps ago. Kev Sims potentially closing in on Kangi here. He's bringing a gap down. It was about 3 seconds. It's now 2.3, so Kev Sim could potentially be bringing himself into the battle for P5 here with Kangi if he keeps up this sort of pace. Ludo's gap to G-Sanks just under a second right now. So Tynus there just ahead of Robe at this point. But here come the two leaders coming through the final corner. Ludo and G-Sanks still just under half a second between these two at the moment as they're coming around to complete lap 17. And G-Sanks here still just trying to keep Ludo under pressure. Obviously G-Sanks was the only winner this season other than Tynus. Tynus in the house has taken 7 out of 8 races so far this season, but could we see a new winner this season, or is G-Sanks going to take his second victory of this campaign for the GT3 Sprint League here on a Wednesday night? Robo still just behind Tynus as they're coming through to the end of the first sector. G-Sanks getting closer to the back of Ludo, but still can't find a way through at this point. Robo really piling the pressure here on Tynus, isn't he? Look at this, they're coming down the back straight, but looks like the BMW's got the pace over the McLaren down the straights, and that's giving him a bit of a lifeline here. Let's go back to the two leaders, Ludo and G-Sanks, as they're coming through the penultimate corner. As G-Sanks just throwing a little feint to the inside there on Ludo, trying to put him off, trying to make Ludo think twice about what he's doing, maybe just alter his line a little bit, but Ludo's not going to be fazed by that, still just doing what he needs to do, driving around, driving his race, and most importantly for him, not making any mistakes here. As G-Sanks once again throwing a feint, and Ludo this time does defend it. He did make a little move there to just sort of put G-Sanks off and think, no mate, you're not going to make that move. G-Sanks though, definitely in Ludo's head at this point. You can see Ludo defending that one into Druids, definitely was conscious of the fact that G-Sanks could throw one down the inside, but G-Sanks was realistically was way too far away to be able to do anything there. Tynus still just ahead of Robe in a battle for third place, but here are the two leaders coming down the back straight. Ludo's a bit further ahead than G-Sanks than he was this time a lap ago. There's the battle for third and fourth, which is still going on right now as they're coming out of turn 4. But here is the battle for the lead. We've got to stick with these two. Oh, it's G-Sanks there wide onto the gravel, but keeping it together for the time being. I want to say a big warm welcome to anybody currently tuning in live on the stream. If you guys are enjoying this battle, please show your appreciation for the drivers and smash the like button. These two, Ludo and G-Sanks, have built an absolutely fantastic show, and it's going to go down to the wire, I reckon, between these two. Who is it going to be though? That is the question. As we're coming out of the final corner once again. 2:52 on the clock as they cross over the line. It's going to be closest to whether we have 2 or 3 more laps in this race. It's going to be very close. As into Druids we come once again, half a second the gap. Tynus and Robe still running close. Obviously Tynus with damage, which he picked up quite early on the first lap, I think it was. He started in P13 due to not getting a lap in qualifying. Caprigia should be joining us back for second race. We should have 13 back on the grid once again for the second race of the night. But Tynus in the house still doing what he has to do to hold on to third place. Robe with a much healthier car than Tynus at this point. But Tynus currently parking his car in all the right places. Ludo and G-Sanks coming down the back straight. G-Sanks I think just a little bit too far back to really being send it range at the moment of Ludo. There's a battle for third and fourth, which is still going on out of turn 4. But Robe just doesn't seem to have the straight line speed in that McLaren to be able to put the BMW under sufficient pressure. Coming into the braking zones at the end of the straight. G-Sanks within half a second of Ludo as they're coming through the final few corners of lap 20. Now it's going to be very close as to whether we have 2 or 3 more laps in this race. Depends what the time is on when they cross the line here. It's about a 1 minute 26 lap around this track in the race, and you can see there for your own eyes it's going to be very tight. It's 1:27 as they come over the line, so I reckon we're probably going to have 2 more laps unless these guys come together or have some kind of incident on this lap. It's most likely going to be 2 more laps. We've got Day in the comments saying leading 2 probably too far for Tynus, but wonder how close he will get. Oh, it's way too late for Tynus now. Oh, Tynus is in the pits, so he must have misjudged the fuel. Oh no, Tynus in the house. What a shame there. So he's now going to lose loads of points. Not that it's going to make too much of a difference because he's won 7 out of the 8 races so far this season. I'm sure he's still going to be leading the championship and by quite some way, but nonetheless he's going to be kicking himself with that one. That's a new error there for Tynus, and that gives the podium place to Robe here. Sorry, quite a bit behind live. Yeah, I was going to say, mate, it's a bit, he's not going to catch him now. But Ludo and G-Sanks here coming through the middle part of the lap. 0.3 per second currently separating them. G-Sanks throwing the kitchen sink here at Ludo. Is it going to be the final lap, or is it going to be the penultimate lap? Because Ludo is surely going to try and run the clock out, knowing how much pressure G-Sanks is putting on him, but he doesn't want to slow down too much, because then G-Sanks might find a gap and might be able to make the move with him. Here we come down towards the final corner as G-Sanks now looking to the inside. He's trying to go for the gap, but Ludo covers it off. Coming through the final corner here, they're going to be side by side coming through the final part of the lap as G-Sanks managing to get a bit of a cut back here on Ludo, and they're side by side, and G-Sanks is going to take the lead here. Bit of contact there as they come over the line, and I think we're going to have one more lap. We are going to have one more lap. G-Sanks there. No, he didn't. G-Sanks does it. G-Sanks has mugged Ludo on the line. Ludo's going to be fuming with that, but G-Sanks there taking his 2nd win of the season, and Ludo's so unfortunate there, missing out on a race victory. What a race between those two though. Robe comes over to take the final podium place with Tynus in the house running out of fuel with a lap to go. Kangi's going to come over to take 4th place here in this one ahead of Kev Sim, who will bring it home in P5. Tynus in the house is going to finish in 6th place after his late pit stop there for fuel. As he comes around the final corner with a little bit of fuel, only a little bit. It would have been literally a couple of seconds in the pit box and then off and away. But Tynus there taking P6, totally zero, a lap down there in 10th place. But Tynus there absolutely fuming, as you can clearly see. Fierce Mars there 7th ahead of Max Power, a lap down there in 11th, has crossed the line already. Fierce Mars over in 7th. Snoopy is going to come over the line in 8th place with Leximate, who's going to come around to take 9th. And that's the lot for the first race of the night here, guys. So stay tuned, we'll be back on in a few minutes, give us 10 minutes or so, we'll be back on for the 2nd qualifying session. Hopefully we'll get Sharkazulu and Caprigia back in for the 2nd race as well. But guys, don't go anywhere, or actually do go somewhere, because you won't want to be sat in here silent for 10 minutes. So go get yourself a coffee, get a snack, do what you got to do. We'll be back very, very shortly for the 2nd race of the night. 5, we're just coming around the final corner here at Brands Hatch. Again, this time still only P2, so Ludo looking to try and right the wrongs of the race just gone, where he lost it on the line to G-Sanks. G-Sanks managing to mug him out of the last corner. Here we come then. We're green, racing down towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Ludo seems to have got a good getaway. Tyner's looking to the outside. He's shorting out to tuck in here. Ludo leads us coming through. And in the background you can see that Robe here has stayed ahead of G-Sanks for the time being, as Kangi's got Kia cars behind him. Kevsim trying to go around the outside of Max Power here as they're coming through Druids. Max Power keeping ahead of Kevsim and cutting him off a little bit there coming into turn 3. But Fierce Mars and Toady Zero side by side. Toady Zero trying to go around the outside, very wide there onto the grass there was Toady Zero, and it doesn't manage to get the move done there. Kevsim running at the back, running in, no he's not, that's a lie. But Ludo currently just at a Tynus here as they're coming down the back straight. For some reason Kevsim showed up momentarily as being in 11th place. I don't know what's going on there. But Ludo here ahead of Tynus coming down towards the end of the back straight. There's Robe ahead of G-Sanks followed by Kangi. There's Max Power ahead of Kevsim followed by Fierce Mars. And he's just ahead of Snoopy, who's ahead of Leximate, and Toady Zero with that mistake down to the back there right now in 11th place. But you can see here that Ludo and Tynus very close here, but Roby's keeping him on their toes as well here, and Tynus will be wanting to get ahead of Ludo as quickly as he can, but obviously qualified P2, so you know Ludo's there on merit. He's got the pace around this track, we know that for sure, but the first race he'll be gutted with it, and potentially that will really spur him on here in this second race, knowing he could have had the win in the first race. He was literally a few hundred metres away, not even a few hundred metres, it's probably about 50 metres away from taking the victory. It would have been his first win of the season as well, but G-Sanks managed to take his second win of the season due to getting a great exit out of clearways and getting him into, or rather over the start finish line should I say, to finish the race. As we look down the order, everybody's kind of just sitting in the same positions right now. No real moves being shaped up. Max Power to the inside of Kangi into turn 3, but nothing doing just at the moment. Whole pack separated by not much at all, about 7 or 8 seconds between last to first at this point. Kangi there a bit wide there going through that section, swimming onto the grass ever so slightly, but keeping the momentum at the moment, no dramas, holding on to it. A very clean first up. Oh, as Kevsim there was very deep going through the penultimate corner and would have lost a bit of time to the leaders there, just a little bit, not much, but just didn't get a good run, and that would have cost him a lot of momentum there. But coming over the line here to complete lap 2, Ludo's still leading ahead of Tynus. Roby there running in third place right on the back of these guys. You can see G-Sanks and Kangi not letting them off the hook at the moment, but I'd say the top 4 probably overall are going to be the ones battling over this victory here. Be great to see a 4-way battle for this win, with nobody with any damage here so far, and long may that last, because then we'll be able to see the full potential of these guys and potentially see a really cracking battle here for this race win. Got a few comments coming in here tonight. We've got Scooter at Paul saying evening races, Raki saying good evening all, and Tony Zero saying I'm not on the podium, so it'll be an alright race now. At least I'm close to the podium, no curse at least. So far so good, mate. Day 66 was saying that actually no, P10 you dropped, you had that mistake on the first lap, didn't you? So actually I shouldn't say that, it's probably not really the case. Petro Binetti there saying G-Sanks best driver on the track, obviously a good friend of G-Sanks there, I would imagine. G-Sanks is doing a good job right now, Petro, to be fair, running in 4th, always I say that, got a bit of a sketchy run there as he was onto the grass ever so slightly going through the third to last corner. Ludo, Tynus, Robe, there's G-Sanks on the back of him, so he's still in that fight. Currently these 4 breaking away from Kangi, who's running in 5th place. But we've got Cheese Monkey in the comments saying hi guys, welcome Cheese Monkey, it's been a long time. I saw you dad actually in the comments a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, been a long time since we've seen you. But Cheese Monkey is actually a 2-time champion of the GT4 here at Motive, back when we used to do the GT4s on the PS4, and I know he's on a PS5 nowadays. Cheese Monkey, it'd be great to have you back in the leagues. Why not jump in and join back? It'd be good to see you back out on track again. Yeah, but as we've missed you. But currently Ludo and Tynus still separate by half a second. You can see that Robe is keeping them on their toes right now. G-Sanks has just fallen off at the back of Robe by about a second here. Cheese Monkey says, nice stick up names I recognise with a nice mix of cars. Good luck guys. He says, good to hear, Cheese Monkey, and yeah, hopefully these guys will be putting on a good show here. But plenty of drivers who we know quite well. We need a few more drivers in this league here on a Wednesday. We need a few more drivers, full stop. I've done a bit of advertising on TikTok, but I also just anybody who plays ACC who's on the PS5, who's a clean racer with an SA rating of 60 or above, you know, feel free to join. All the races are live broadcast. It's a very clean bunch of drivers. We just need a few more on the grid. Oh, as Ludo goes a bit wide there, going through the third to last corner. Oh, he gets it horribly wrong. Oh, and Ludo. Oh, and G-Sanks nowhere to go. Thanks will have damage on the front. Ludo's also going to have damage as well, as we see Kangi, Max Power and Kevsim making their way through. Fierce Mars is going to come up on the scene as well. Ludo's going to lose out to Fierce Mars and Snoopy and Totally Zero as well, and he's rage quit from the session there after that one. It was his own mistake there. Well, to be fair, it wasn't. Well, it was Ludo's own mistake that kind of led to that, and G-Sanks nowhere to go, has damage on his car. Kangi now out in 3rd place ahead of G-Sanks, with G-Sanks really struggling now. Is he going to come into the pits and get that fixed? Time will tell the answer to that one, but Ludo there rage quitting after that mistake, which he got damage on his car. It's now going to be left to Tynus and Robe to fight out the win for this race, I reckon, because Kangi's too far behind and G-Sanks with a damaged car. That's going to cost him enormously. Cheese Monkey says, oh man, I'd love to jump back in the GT4s. I miss those battles. Yeah, same, but nobody likes the GT4s on PS5. Why is that? I don't know. I tried setting up a GT4 league. Nobody was interested. I just don't know. I don't know why. As Kev Sim now up into P5 ahead of G-Sanks. G-Sanks getting a horrible run coming out of turn 4. And there is, Kev Sim now running it in 5th place here in this race. But no, for sure, we got leagues. We got the Sprint League on a Wednesday. We got the GT3 Championship on a Sunday. So yeah, definitely feel free to jump in, mate. Have a look at what we've got on offer, because we do need some more people jumping in, that's for sure. But Tynus here just ahead of Robe. They're coming to the final corner here, about to complete lap 5. They've got a few seconds back to Kangi, who's running in 3rd place. He's got max power about a second and a half there. You've got Kev Sim running in P5, about a second ahead of G-Sanks, and he's got a further 3.5 seconds back to Fierce Mars, who's got Snoopy and Totally Zero battling it out over 8th and 9th places right now as they're coming through the final corner. They've got a couple of seconds back to Leximate, who currently occupies P10 at this point. But Tynus and Robe still battling over the lead here as they're coming out of Druids here for the sixth time in this race. I will apologise, guys, for my constant. It sounds like I'm drunk right now. I'm not. I'm actually just extremely exhausted and dehydrated as well. So it does sound like I'm drunk. I'm not. I'm slurring my words and I'm tripping over my sentences because I am so tired. I have not slept properly in weeks. But Tynus here. He's got half a second ahead of Robe right now. Kangi there running in 3rd place, 6 seconds behind the back of those two. He's now continuing to get max power by just over 2 seconds at this point. Totally Zero still knocking on the door here of 8th place. You can see these guys coming down the back straight. Is Snoopy going to defend here, coming down to the end of the back straight? He's not going to need to, because he's just far enough ahead of Totally Zero to keep on to that one for the time being. Tynus in the house and Robe coming through the penultimate corner. These two still locked horns out the front. Kangi there running in 3rd place, 6.5 seconds behind these guys at the moment, so no real changes here at this point. But Tynus and Robe here coming through the final corner. Dave says Motive has great leagues. I'd encourage anyone to join if they aren't already. And I'd echo those sentiments. The racing is great. We just need more drivers on the grid. We've got so many people on the Discord who just don't even race. I don't even know why they're here. But yeah, we just need people to race. But yeah. Nonetheless, here are the two leaders coming through Druids, 0.4 of a second apart at this point here on lap 7 of the race. G-Sanks continues to drop down the order here with his damage on the car, and he's letting Snoopy and Totally Zero through. So really struggling at this point is G-Sanks. He'll have Leximate pulling up onto the back of him pretty soon as well, you'd imagine. The battle between Tynus and Robe still going on here, just under a second currently separating the two leaders. It's Robe there really wide onto the gravel a little bit. Got that right hander horribly wrong, but he's still on the back of Tynus in the house though. And can Robe be the one to take the fight to Tynus? Tynus has taken 7 wins from 9 races so far this season. Can he make it 8 out of 10 here tonight? Or can Robe be the first driver to deny Tynus from taking a win in a round here for this GT3 Sprint League this season? He's won at least 1 race at all 4 rounds so far this season, but didn't take the win in the first race tonight because he started from P12 and managed to get his way up into 3rd. But can he continue his record of getting 100% wins at every single round so far this season? Not every single race, but every single round he has taken at least 1 win from the 2 races that we have at each round, and he's currently got the ascendancy here right now over Robe, not by much, but Robe's keeping the pressure on him at this point. Snoopy and Totally Zero running in 7th and 8th places right now. Totally Zero looking to the inside into Druids. Is he going to send one up the inside? He is going to send one, and he gets it done beautifully there as Totally Zero. Snoopy saw him coming, and Totally Zero gets himself up into 7th place, and that was absolutely superbly done there from Totally Zero. And he can now focus his attention on Fierce Mars, who's a couple of seconds up the road there in 6th place. Back to the leaders, you can see 0.3 of a second between Tynus and Robe at this point. Still a good battle going on between these guys. Sorry, I just had to quickly duck out there for a sec, but Tynus and Robe coming over the line here into Paddock Hill Bend for the 9th time in this race. Still only 0.6 of a second separating them. Robe a bit wide there as he came out of Paddock Hill, but he's still keeping Tynus definitely on the same page at this point. Snoopy's not falling off at the back of Totally Zero. Totally Zero obviously made the move on him going into Druids on the previous lap with an absolutely superb move, but Snoopy's still keeping him on a fishing rod at this point. Two leaders, Tynus and Robe here, just coming out of turn 4 here for the 9th time in this race. Still relatively early stages of this second race of the night, and Robe definitely showing he is a match for Tynus around this Brands Hatch circuit. Noticing now G-Sanks is coming under pressure here from Lexi, mate. And obviously G-Sanks a far cry from his first race where he managed to finish in, mate, we managed to get the race win after managing to get Ludo right at the end. And obviously Ludo retiring very early from this second race of the night, so no opportunity for redemption there for him. But Tynus and Robe here coming out of the final corner, about to complete lap 9, and you can see that Robe getting closer to the back of Tynus at points around this circuit. They both seem to have their strengths around this track, and it's paying dividends for Robe right now because he's being able to keep Tynus under the cosh. Looking to the inside there into Druids, putting Tynus under a bit of pressure, and Tynus actually went to defend that one there, so clearly showing that he's very conscious of Robe potentially that threat of him throwing one down the inside, and Tynus currently is being forced to show his hand a little bit here in the defensive stakes. But into turn 4 we come once again here for the 10th time in this race, and Robe is definitely proving to be a bit of the thorn in the side here for Tynus in the house. But the big thing that Tynus has got is straight line speed over that McLaren. The BMW much quicker than the McLaren down the straights, but Robe definitely seems to have the confidence through the corners here. The only thing is, where is Robe going to be able to make a move unless Tynus makes a mistake? That's the question. You know, he's able to get close, but down the straights the BM has got that much pace, it's just almost unfathomable to think where Robe can make that move. Some notes on the timing screen here that Totally Zero is pulling up onto the back of Fierce Mars. This is battle for P6. Totally Zero obviously passed Snoopy a few laps ago and is now looking to size up his next victim here in the shape of the Audi here, and the number 10 of Fierce Mars, who's just in front of him. As they're coming through the penultimate corner now, Totally Zero on a bit of a comeback drive. Commented earlier on saying that he thought that starting outside the top 3 would be a good omen for him. It hasn't really shown to be at all though, unfortunately, in this second race. Here we come down a start finish straight, as Totally Zero just seems a little bit too far back from Fierce Mars to be able to send one at this point. But you can get everyone through Paddock Hill though, he might have a chance into Druids, and Fierce Mars didn't get a great run through there. Totally Zero might have a look to the inside here into Druids. Is he going to send one up the inside? He is going to go for it, and Totally Zero almost making another manoeuvre there into Druids, but Fierce Mars keeping it around the outside and holds on there, keeping the momentum. Fierce Mars still running in P6 at the moment, but Totally Zero is definitely keeping him guessing at this point. As here we come into turn 4, but at the moment Totally Zero can't force Fierce Mars into a mistake. Fierce Mars holding on, doing everything he needs to do at this point. Here the leaders, Tynus and Robe, still the situation not really too much different. Robe a little bit further away from Tynus actually on this lap than he was on the previous lap. Gap between Kangi and Max Power is just under a second at this point. Totally Zero still on the back of Fierce Mars as they're coming over the line here to start lap 12. Tyner's in the house currently on track here to take his 8th win from 10 races so far this season in the GT3 Sprint League. Obviously didn't take the win in the first race tonight. It's only the second time this season that that's happened, due to having to start in P12 on the grid. Made his way up into 3rd nonetheless though. Robe though trying to be the thorn in the side here for Tynus once again. Could this be the only time this season where Tynus fails to take any wins in a round in this GT3 Sprint League? At the moment he's holding on to this lead and looking good to continue his 100% record of taking at least one win at every round. Max Power here still within a second of Kangi as they're coming out onto the back straight. You can see they've gap Kev's him now by nearly 2 seconds. Fierce Mars has still got Totally Zero all over the back of him here. Half a second between them coming through turn 4. Snoopy a couple of seconds behind them at the moment. You can see him in the background. He looked like he was about to come into the pits there, didn't he? He just seemed to wiggle as he was coming around the final corner. I wonder if he was thinking about it and then just thought, nah, you know what, nope. But nonetheless, continuing on his way as if nothing happened. I wonder if it was just a bit of oversteer here. He's gap to Max Power still just under a second. You've got Totally Zero closer and closer to the back of Fierce Mars at this point into Paddock Hill Bend. Is he going to be able to potentially look for a move into Druids? Doesn't look like he's close enough. Tynus still just ahead of Robe at this point. The situation very much unchanged between the top two here in this second race of the night. So he's looking to the inside here. Fierce Mars into Druids. Fierce Mars goes late enough around the outside. Totally Zero was thinking about that, didn't he? But just couldn't get up the inside there. Max Power now over a second behind Kangi. So Kangi has pulled away from Max Power a little bit here in that battle for 3rd and 4th places. Totally Zero still can't find a way through ahead of Fierce Mars. And Tynus and Robe still very close. Robe looked like he got a better run coming to the final corner there than Tynus did. Tynus was a bit wide on exit, would have scrubbed a bit of speed off here. As down the start finish straight we go. Robe having a look, is he? No, a little bit too far back into Paddock Hill Bend. Can he get a run up towards Druids? Tynus there didn't get a great run at all. He's onto the gravel a little bit here, and Robe looking down the inside, side by side between the two leaders. Robe, this is for position, this is for the lead of the race here in the second race. Robe hugs the curb on the inside, he gets the move done there, and Robe takes the lead of the race. And Tynus in the house with a little mistake. Robe did not need a second invitation there. Robe leads here in race 2 tonight here at Brands Hatch, and Tynus in the house could be about to lose his 100% record this season of taking a win at every single round. He's now got to really fight for this one. Robe leads here at Brands Hatch in the second race of the night. Huge development here. The McLaren has found a way through ahead of the BMW. The BMW, which is an absolute monster on the straights, has made a mistake through one of the corners, and the McLaren, with the traction out of Druids, managed to get the run. And Robe now has a slender lead here, as we've got, well, we're well over halfway through the race at this point. Half an hour, well, is it half? Yeah, half an hour. So, well, we're into the final quarter nearly of this race, and Robe has timed it quite well here. We've got probably about 5 or 6 laps left to go here, so time's not going to be really plentiful for Tynus to get onto the back of Robe and make a move here, but he needs to force him into a mistake or do something, because Robe has gone and seized the initiative here in this second race of the night. Tony Zero is still on the back of Fierce Mars in this battle for P6 and 7. You can see there under 0.2 of a second as Tony Zero wallops the curb there. Was close to losing the car, but these two have got Snoopy closing in on them a little bit there in 8th place. He's only just under a second and a half behind this battle here at 4 P6. Kang is putting away from Max Power. You can see it's nearly 2 seconds now between those two. Kevsim is actually closing in on Max Power there. It's only a second and a half between Max Power and Kevsim. That could be one to watch pretty soon. But Robe and Tynus 3/10 apart, and Tynus is keeping Robe onto the cosh here, despite Robe making the move on Tynus. Tynus is not giving this one up without a fight. Currently got 10 of you currently watching the stream. Guys, if you are enjoying, please do smash the like button and show your appreciation for these two out the front, because they are putting on a fantastic show here tonight. What a battle they're giving us. And Robe currently with the ascendancy, but not by very much at all. This one I reckon will be going down to the final lap here, as Totally Zero is still on the back of Fierce Mars. He's looking to the inside. Actually, he's going to make the move into turn 3. I think Totally Zero is going to have that one done down the inside. He gets it done up into P6. He's finally made that move. He's been on the back of him for so long. He's been pressuring him for a number of laps, and Totally Zero gets it done. And Fierce Mars has got to be careful here, because Snoopy's now on the back of him as well, as they're coming out onto the back straight. As here we go, he's got a bit of a run. The BMW here will probably have the straight line speed over the Audi, but I think he's going to get there a little bit too late there, going into the right-hander, and Fierce Mars will hold on to 7th place for the time being. But Totally Zero K up into P6. Fierce Mars a little bit wide there, but keeps it pinned and hot and stays ahead of Snoopy for the time being. And Tynus is ahead of Robe. So Tynus has got back ahead of Robe. Where did he do that? I haven't seen where he did that, but the lead has changed once again. Robe obviously made the move on Tynus a couple of laps ago going into Druids. Tynus has now returned the favour and leads the race once again here. So Robe, after all that hard work, it's now been undone once again. Tynus in the house now is your race leader here on lap 18 once again. Unbelievable. Robe is going to surely be kicking himself after that one. Fierce Mars in the meantime has got Snoopy looking to his inside and towards Paddock Hill Bend. But Snoopy is too far back. Is he? No, he doesn't think so, because he's looking down the inside. Here we go. Fierce Mars a bit of a slide, and Snoopy gets it done up into P7. Beautifully done there. Fierce Mars was very sideways but held onto it, but nonetheless does lose the position. And Snoopy there now running in P7 in this race, can now try and chase down Totally Zero, who's starting to gap these guys a little bit there. We're in P6. Tynus and Robe coming through the penultimate corner. Robe's still on the back of Tynus. This battle is far from over yet, as we're probably going to have, I would imagine, 4 more laps in this race, including the one that they're about to start. So here we go then. Tynus and Robe 0.4 of a second apart as they start lap 19 of the race. It's going to be a 22 lap race here for race 2. Snoopy still on the back of Totally Zero. These guys continuing to go at it here for 6th and 7th places. Obviously Snoopy getting ahead of Fierce Mars. Fierce Mars has dropped off for these two by a couple of seconds now. It's Tynus a bit wide there onto the grass, but Robe still looking to try and put the pressure on him and force him into a mistake here. He's going to have to do something pretty special here as Robe to get ahead of Tynus again. Tynus is not usually a driver who makes, well, he rarely makes one mistake, but 2 mistakes in one race would be pretty much unheard of for him. As Snoopy's dropped off of Totally Zero a little bit over the course of that lap. It's now best part of a second between those two at this point. 0.3 of a second separating Tynus and Robe as they're coming through into the final sector here on lap 19. Tynus was a little bit wide there, didn't get a perfect run through that part of the track. As through the penultimate corner we go, and Robe just is a little bit closer here coming into clearways. Through the final corner we go, out onto the start finish straight once again, and it just seems to be a little bit too far away. Unless Tynus makes a mistake through Paddock Hill, Robe's unlikely to be able to make anything happen here into Druids. But we've got 3 laps left to go here for this final race of the night here for the GT3 Sprint League at Motive on the PS5. Roby throwing a little thing to the inside, and Tynus did take the bait because he did defend a little bit there, and he's just making Tynus stink a little bit here is Roby, but he was realistically never going to make that one happen in a month of Sundays. He was way too far back. Tynus a bit wide there onto the grass. Roby looking to the inside. Is he going to make the move here into turn 4? He's going to send one up the inside. Tynus goes a little bit deep. Roby keeping himself there. Hugs the curb on the inside. Tynus should get a better run coming out onto the back straight and will be able to get a more straight line speed down this section. But Roby is keeping him under pressure here and has got a little bit of his McLaren alongside the BMW. Can Tynus take his normal racing line? He's going to have to hold the inside line here for this next right-hander and just keeps onto it for the time being. But Roby is continuing to pile this pressure on Tynus in the house. This is going to be a grandstand finish between these two with 2.5 laps to go left here at Brands Hatch. The battle between Tony Zero and Snoopy continues on for P6 and 7, but we've got to stay with this fight for the lead, which is continuing to rage on here as we go through the penultimate corner here on lap 20. Tynus in the house, somehow weathering this storm, but Roby's closer and closer here, looking to the inside into the final corner. Again trying to put Tynus off. Tynus, does he take the bait there? He goes a little bit wide there going to the final corner. But Roby not really with enough for a run down the start-finish straight. Tynus will hold on here as we start lap 21 of the race. Into Paddock Hill once again here. And Tynus getting a great run there through Paddock Hill. Manages to extend the gap a little bit into Druids. Will give him a little bit more comfort, a little bit more peace of mind here as they come out of Druids. But what a fight between these two. What a battle they've had as Tynus a bit wide there, but getting a decent enough run, and he's comfortable here into turn 4. It's turn 4 at the moment. But Roby is absolutely hassling him here. Roby did briefly take the lead a few laps ago. He was about 4 or 5 laps ago, I think it was. He made the move into Druids, but then within a lap, Tynus had come back at him. We didn't actually see Tynus making a move back on him. I just remember looking at the timing screen, seeing that Tynus was back in the lead. Didn't see where he did it. So Roby's reign at the top of that leaderboard was very short-lived, but all he needs to do is be in the right place at the right time. If he makes a move on the final lap and leads over the line, then he'll obviously be the race winner. It doesn't matter if he only leads 1 or 2 laps of this race. All that matters is who's ahead at the checkered flag. But right now, Tynus is in that position. But he goes a little bit wide there, coming out of the penultimate corner. Got a bit of grass action there. Into the final corner we go once again. We're about to start the final lap of the race here. It's going to be a 22 lap race for race 2. And Tynus is in the pits. Oh my goodness me. Tynus in the house. He's done it again. He's misjudged the fuel once again here. And Roby is going to take the win. It's going to be a walkover for the final lap of the race. Oh, Tynus. It's unbelievable scenes here at Brands Hatch. For the second race here tonight, he's misjudged the fuel. And for the first time this season, Tynus will not take a race win at a round in this GT3 Sprint League. He's taken a race victory at every single round this season, and just to compound matters, he gets done for speeding in the pit lane. A stop-go penalty. He will be DQ'd from this race, or it will be at least an 80-second penalty, if not 120 seconds, but a potential DQ coming up here for Tynus. Well, I mean, effectively it is a DQ because it will drop him down to the back of this leaderboard. But Roby here has been handed a race victory, and to be fair, he's earned this race win because he put Tynus under so much pressure. And clearly Tynus has cracked in some way or another, but obviously coming in for fuel right at the end there, misjudged his fuel. He obviously did that in the first race, and he's done it again here in the second race. Kangi is going to obviously inherit second place with Max Power, who will complete the podium with Tynus's penalty. But Roby here coming to the penultimate corner. He's got just 1 corner to go here at Brands Hatch for race 2, and it's going to be a race victory here. Roby is going to become the 3rd different winner in this GT3 Sprint League. Tynus has taken 7 out of 10 races. The other 2 have gone to G Stanks, but race 10 of the season is going to go to Roby as he flashes his lights and comes over the line. What a performance there from Roby. What a drive in his second race, and he completely bins it and ruins it as he comes over the line. But Tynus coming to the final corner is going to take second place here in the end, but obviously not second place on the classification. He'll be second on the road, but he will drop down the order once the classification comes into play. Only gets a 60-second penalty there, but bins it into the wall over the line. Kangi 3rd. Max Power finishes the race in 4th place with Kev Sim over to take P5. Totally Zero coming through into the final corner. He's just ahead of Snoopy here as they come through out onto the start finish straight for the final time. G-Sanks has finished the race a lap down, a nightmare of a race for him after taking the win, let's not forget, in the first race. Getting damage early on really cost him here. Tony Zero P5, Snoopy over in 6th. Fierce Mask is going to finish the race in 7th place here in the end. Leximate will be the last driver to finish the race in 8th place. Tynus obviously crossed the line in 2nd but got a penalty and has already left the session, so he's not appearing on the leaderboard, but he will appear in a second. And that is your lot. 13 started and 10 finished, and that is the situation there. Robe, Kangi and Max Power taking your podium places. Guys, thanks ever so much to the drivers for joining us tonight. Apologies for the not so great turnout. I'm hoping we can get the grid filled up. I've been advertising the league on TikTok a little bit. Also, I'll be yeah, making sure the servers are public and also set to the correct tracks. But yeah, hopefully we can get a few more in for the rest of the season and for next season obviously as well. But thanks everybody, thanks for joining us once again. We'll see you in the next one. Yeah, good night.